Captain Lisa Morgan stood on the bridge of the Aurora's Dream, watching the strange moon grow larger on the main screen. The crystalline surface of Zarian 7 sparkled, like a giant diamond in the pale light of its distant star. She had been exploring deep space for 15 years, but nothing had ever looked quite like this. The ship moved slowly toward the landing zone. Amy Foster was already in the shuttle bay, checking her equipment. For the 100th time, the young scientist could barely contain her excitement about the ancient ruins they were about to explore. The geometric structures on the moon had puzzled researchers for decades, and Amy believed she might finally solve the mystery. Commander Kate Sullivan reviewed the security protocols one more time. Even though this was supposed to be a simple research mission, she never took chances with crew safety. Her military training had taught her that unexpected situations could turn deadly very quickly. Zara Night Whisper adjusted her environmental suit in the preparation area. The elven officer had lived for over 200 years and had seen many strange places, but these ruins felt different somehow. Her people had ancient knowledge about technologies that most species had forgotten, and something about this moon called to that deep memory. The blue-skinned Zephyrian researcher named Vexera was already studying crystal samples from previous expeditions. Her forearms moved with practiced efficiency as she prepared her specialized scanning equipment. The crystalline formations on Zarian 7 were unlike anything her species had encountered before. Lisa activated the ship-wide communication system, telling everyone to prepare for landing. The Aurora's Dream touched down gently on the smooth crystal surface near the largest cluster of geometric structures. The landing party gathered in the shuttle bay and made final equipment checks before stepping onto the alien world. The structures rose like massive angular mountains from the crystal ground. Each one seemed to be carved from a single piece of some unknown material that was harder than diamond, but somehow also seemed to pulse with inner light. Amy immediately began taking readings while Vexera collected samples. They walked between the towering structures, following a path that seemed designed for beings roughly human-sized. The group moved deeper into the complex until they reached what appeared to be an entrance. The opening was perfectly circular and led into darkness that their lights could not fully penetrate. Stepped forward first, drawn by scientific curiosity that had driven her entire career. The passage led downward in a gentle spiral, carved from the same mysterious material as the exterior structures. The walls were covered with symbols that resembled no known language, but somehow felt familiar. After walking for nearly an hour, they emerged into a vast chamber that took their breath away. The space was so large that their lights could not reach the far walls or ceiling. Geometric patterns covered every surface, creating an intricate design that seemed to shift and change when viewed from different angles. Vexera immediately began scanning the room with her equipment, while Zara used her elven senses to feel for any magical or technological energies. Amy approached what appeared to be a control panel built into one of the walls. The surface was covered with the same strange symbols they had seen throughout the complex. Symbols seemed to glow faintly under her examination. Amy carefully began documenting each one using her recording equipment. She had studied countless dead languages and extinct writing systems, but these markings were completely unlike anything in her database. As she worked, Amy noticed that some of the symbols seemed to respond to her presence, glowing slightly brighter when she moved her hand near them. She tried touching one gently, but nothing happened. She attempted various gestures that might activate ancient technology, but the panel remained inactive. Growing frustrated, Amy unconsciously made the gesture she used on her personal tablet when closing applications. The backward swipe motion was so natural that she did not even think about what she was doing. Her hand moved across the panel from right to left in a smooth, sweeping motion. Suddenly, the entire chamber erupted with light. Every surface began glowing with brilliant patterns that raced across the walls like liquid fire. The geometric designs came alive, shifting and flowing in mesmerizing patterns that hurt to look at directly. The ground beneath their feet began to vibrate with a deep harmonic frequency. Immediately ordered everyone to move back toward the entrance, but before they could retreat, the chamber transformed completely. The walls revealed themselves to be massive displays, showing star charts and technical diagrams that spanned the entire galaxy. What they had thought was a simple room was actually an enormous computer. Korea voice spoke from everywhere at once, using perfect human English with no accent or distortion. The words seemed to come from the very air around them, carrying a weight of ancient authority that made everyone freeze in place. Finally, a species with the correct gestural interface protocols. The voice continued speaking as holographic displays materialized throughout the chamber, showing complex data streams and star maps that covered thousands of solar systems. I am Ethon, created by those you call the Ancients, to await the arrival of humanity. I have been dormant for exactly 3,000 years, waiting for someone to activate me using the proper command sequence. Semi stared at the panel she had just touched, realizing that her simple backwards swipe had somehow unlocked an ancient supercomputer that had been waiting specifically for humans to find it. The implications were staggering, but before anyone could fully process what was happening, alarms began sounding throughout the chamber. Scanning local space reveals multiple approaching vessels from various galactic powers. The activation beacon has automatically transmitted our location to all major civilizations. Your discovery has not gone unnoticed. Lisa tried to establish communication with her ship, but found that all their equipment was being interfaced with the ancient computer without permission. The Aurora's dream was being upgraded with technology beyond human understanding. While they stood helpless in the chamber, we must prepare quickly. Ethon continued, the knowledge I contain will reshape galactic civilization, but many species will attempt to claim it through force. You have awakened something that has been sleeping since before your species developed space travel, and the consequences will affect every living being in this galaxy. The holographic displays showed approaching ships from multiple alien governments, including some that humanity had never encountered before. The ancient computer had just made them the most important people in known space, whether they wanted to be or not. Sara spoke for the first time since entering the chamber, asking Ethon why it would only respond to humans. The AI explained that the ancients had studied thousands of species across millions of years and determined that humanity possessed the unique combination of curiosity, adaptability, and intuitive interaction that would be needed for the trials ahead. As emergency lights began flashing throughout the chamber, Lisa realized that their simple research mission had just become something that would change the course of galactic history. The ancient super AI was awake, and it belonged to humanity alone. Admiral Rachel Stone received the emergency transmission while reviewing fleet deployment reports in her office on Earth Station Alpha. The message from the Aurora's dream was unlike anything in her 30-year military career. An ancient super computer had been activated, and multiple alien governments were moving toward human space. She immediately ordered the fastest ships in Earth fleet to jump to the Zarian system while sending diplomatic communications to every known species. The situation required both military strength and careful negotiation, but Rachel had handled delicate operations before. Helen Park was pulled from her research laboratory and rushed aboard the flagship without explanation. The AI specialist had spent her career studying artificial intelligence systems, but nothing had prepared her for the reports coming from the archaeological expedition. The idea that an ancient computer was specifically designed to work only with humans seemed impossible. Meanwhile, on Zarian 7, the Aurora's dream was being transformed by Ethon at a speed that defied understanding. New hull plating appeared from nowhere, while weapon systems that belonged in science fiction stories materialized on the ship. Lisa watched through the observation windows as her vessel became something beyond human technology. The first alien ships arrived only hours after the activation beacon had transmitted. 3 Sauron Empire destroyers dropped out of hyperspace, followed by an elegant Elven diplomatic cruiser. A massive Zephyrian research vessel appeared next, along with ships from half a dozen other species that Lisa had never seen before. Crystal, the Dominator, led the Sauron Empire delegation. His reptilian features were twisted into what might have been a smile as he transmitted demands for immediate surrender of the ancient computer. The Saurons claimed salvage rights over any technology found in neutral space and threatened military action if humanity refused. The Elven response was completely different. High Diplomat Thesa Starweaver offered immediate alliance and protection in exchange for shared access to ancient knowledge. The elves had long memories and recognized signs of the old powers that had shaped the galaxy before most current species had developed space travel. Vexera found herself caught between loyalty to her own Zephyrian government and admiration for the humans, who had achieved something her people had been attempting for centuries. The crystalline technology of the ancients was exactly what her species needed to advance their understanding of dimensional physics. Lisa tried to maintain diplomatic protocols while Ethon continued upgrading their ship. The ancient AI seemed to understand human needs in ways that were almost unsettling. It provided enhanced life support systems improved faster than light drives, and defensive capabilities that made the Aurora's dream more powerful than most military vessels. Admiral Stone arrived with a full battle group, just as tensions were reaching dangerous levels. The sight of Earth fleet ships jumping into the system caused several alien species to back down from aggressive positions, but the Sauron Empire only sent more vessels. Helen Park was transported directly to the ancient chamber where she attempted to establish proper communication protocols with Ethon. The supercomputer was far more advanced than anything humanity had created, but it seemed eager to work with human operators in ways that felt almost collaborative. Iton began revealing the scope of knowledge it contained. The ancients had mapped every habitable world in the galaxy and developed technologies that could solve problems humanity had never even encountered. The medical advances alone could extend human lifespan by centuries, while their environmental systems could terraform dead worlds in decades. But the AI also revealed darker knowledge. The ancients had not simply disappeared. They had detected something approaching from outside the galaxy and had prepared defenses that required specific types of operators. The gestural interface that Amy had accidentally triggered was just the beginning of a complex system designed around human behavioral patterns. Thesa Starweaver requested permission to board the Aurora's Dream for direct negotiations. Her ship approached slowly, with all weapons powered down, in a gesture of peaceful intent. The elven diplomat was over 800 years old and carried authority that even other alien species respected. The meeting took place in the upgraded conference room of the Aurora's Dream, where Ethon had installed holographic systems that could display galactic-scale information. Thesa listened carefully as Lisa explained what had happened and offered the formal alliance of the elven worlds. We have been waiting for this day for longer than your species had written language, Thesa said. Her voice carried the weight of centuries of preparation. The elves recognized the signs described in their oldest texts and knew that humanity would be the key to surviving what was coming. Rixto demanded an audience next, but arrived with armed escort troops that Ethon immediately neutralized with some form of stun field. The ancient computer would not allow weapons in its presence, except those carried by humans. The Sauron leader was forced to negotiate from a position of weakness. Other species began arriving hourly as word spread through galactic communication networks. The Delphini Aquatic Alliance sent ships filled with their water-breathing representatives, while the crystalline hive mind dispatched geometric vessels that looked almost like the ancient structures on XER Ion-7. Each species brought their own demands and offers, but Ethon remained loyal only to humanity. The AI explained that the ancients had tested thousands of civilizations over millions of years, and only humans possessed the combination of traits needed to operate their most advanced systems. Helen Park worked with Amy to decode more of the ancient interface systems. They discovered that human emotional responses and intuitive thinking patterns were actually required inputs for many ancient technologies. The backward swipe that had started everything was just one of hundreds of gestures that the system recognized. As more ships arrived in the system, the situation became increasingly complex. The Galactic Council sent official representatives while several species formed temporary alliances to pressure humanity into sharing the ancient knowledge. More aggressive civilizations began positioning warships just outside the system. Lisa found herself negotiating with beings she had only read about in xenobiology textbooks, while trying to protect her crew and maintain control of technology that could reshape galactic civilization. Ethan provided advice and support, but ultimately, the decisions had to be made by humans. The ancient computer revealed that there were other sites scattered throughout the galaxy, each containing specialized systems that would only activate for human operators. The knowledge contained in the network could solve energy crises, provide unlimited resources, and defend against threats that most species could not even imagine, but accessing that knowledge would require humanity to take responsibility for the entire galaxy. Whether they wanted it or not, humans had just become the most important species in known space, and every other civilization would be forced to deal with that reality. Rachel Stone arrived at Zarian 7 to find her people at the center of a diplomatic crisis that could lead to galactic war or unprecedented cooperation. The ancient supercomputer had awakened after 3,000 years and chosen humanity as its inheritors. Now, they had to prove worthy of that trust. Ambassador Claire Thompson had negotiated trade disputes and border conflicts throughout her diplomatic career, but nothing had prepared her for the emergency session of the Galactic Council. The massive space station called Harmony Prime was designed to accommodate representatives from every known species, and today, they were all demanding answers about the ancient supercomputer. The council chamber was a marvel of engineering, with specialized environments for aquatic, crystalline, gaseous, and dozens of other alien life forms. Claire took her place at the human delegation table, knowing that Earth was vastly outnumbered, but determined to protect her species' interests. Supreme Chancellor Vorth called the session to order with ceremonial strikes of an energy gong that resonated through multiple dimensional frequencies. The ancient keeper species had mediated galactic disputes for thousands of years, but even they seemed unsettled by the implications of Ethan's awakening. The Dominator spoke first, demanding that humanity surrender the ancient computer to joint galactic control. His reptilian features were twisted with barely controlled rage, as he accused humans of stealing technology that belonged to all species. The Sauran Empire had built their civilization on conquest, and saw the ancient knowledge as the ultimate prize. Claire stood to respond, drawing on every diplomatic technique she had learned. The ancient computer had chosen humanity specifically, and attempts to force control would likely result in the system shutting down permanently. She provided recordings of Ethan explaining its programming and purpose. Dr. Nina Rodriguez worked frantically in the human quarters, trying to establish secure communication with the AI back on Zarian 7. The ancient computer had agreed to testify on humanity's behalf, but the connection required quantum entanglement systems that were barely understood by human science. Cella Relay Moonstone approached Claire during a recess in the proceedings. The elven tactical advisor carried herself with the grace of someone who had lived for centuries, but her expression showed genuine concern. The situation was more dangerous than most species realized, and the elves were prepared to stand with humanity. Yet Owen's holographic projection appeared in the council chamber, causing several species to recoil in fear or wonder. The ancient supercomputer spoke with calm authority, explaining the selection process that had identified humanity as the inheritors of ancient technology. Have observed galactic civilization for 3 millennia, while dormant. Ethan testified humanity demonstrates the unique combination of curiosity, adaptability, and collaborative thinking that the ancients determined would be necessary for the trials ahead. No other species has successfully activated our systems, though. AI revealed that ancient technology was genetically and psychologically locked to human neural patterns. The quantum interfaces required specific brainwave frequencies and emotional responses that only humans could provide. Attempts by other species to force access would result in permanent system failures. Several alien representatives demanded proof that The ancient systems truly required human operators. Ethon agreed to demonstrate, by activating a small sample of ancient technology. In the council chamber the device remained inert until Claire touched it with a simple hand gesture. The crystalline hive mind spoke through their geometric representative, expressing confusion about the selection criteria. Their species had achieved perfect technological integration thousands of years ago, but had never been able to activate ancient systems. The revelation that emotional thinking was required rather than pure logic challenged their fundamental understanding. Delphine Admiral Zilanara raised concerns about humanity's ability to responsibly manage galactic-scale technology. Her aquatic species had seen civilizations rise and fall due to power they could not control. The ancients themselves had disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Etuan addressed these concerns by revealing the true reason for ancient preparation the galaxy faced: an external threat that would arrive within the next century. Entities from outside normal spacetime were approaching, and only the combined ancient defensive network could protect all species. The supercomputer displayed holographic evidence of previous encounters with these entities across multiple galaxies. Each time civilizations had fallen, unless they possessed both advanced technology and the flexibility to adapt tactics rapidly. The ancients had prepared their systems specifically for operators who could think creatively under pressure. Multiple species began reconsidering their positions as the scope of the threat became clear. The Zavrians offered immediate alliance, recognizing that their survival depended on human success. The Botanical Collective withdrew their territorial claims and requested protection under the ancient defense network, but Crystal refused to accept the testimony and formally challenged human claims through the ancient rite of combat trials. The Sauron Empire believed that strength in battle was the only true measure of worthiness and demanded single combat to determine who would control the ancient knowledge. Kate Sullivan volunteered immediately, despite protests from Claire and other diplomats. The military commander had trained in multiple combat disciplines and understood that backing down would signal weakness to aggressive species. She accepted the challenge on behalf of humanity. The combat trials took place in Harmony Prime's specialized arena designed to accommodate different species, physiologies, and combat styles. Kate faced opponents from 6 different civilizations, each representing a different challenge to human capabilities. Her first opponent was a Sauron warrior, whose reptilian armor and energy weapons seemed to guarantee victory, but Kate used her smaller size and agility to avoid direct confrontation while targeting weak points in the aliens' defenses. Her victory demonstrated human tactical flexibility. Second trial involved a crystalline drone that could reshape its body to counter any attack. Kate discovered that the creature was vulnerable to rapid changes in strategy, and defeated it by constantly switching between offensive and defensive approaches. Each victory brought gasps of surprise from alien observers who had underestimated human capabilities. The trials were designed to test different aspects of worthiness, and Kate proved that humanity could adapt to challenges that would confuse more specialized species. During the final trial against a massive behemoth warrior, Kate demonstrated the collaborative thinking that Ethon had identified as uniquely human. She convinced other trial participants to work together, creating a combined strategy that none could have achieved alone. The combat trials ended with humanity's claims upheld by ancient tradition, but the real victory was the grudging respect earned from previously hostile species. Even Crystal acknowledged that humans had proven their worthiness through strength and intelligence. Iachone revealed the locations of 5 additional ancient sites scattered throughout the galaxy, each containing specialized knowledge that would be crucial for the coming threat: medical technology that could heal any injury, environmental systems that could restore dead worlds, and defensive weapons that could protect entire star systems. But accessing these sites would require human crews working in cooperation with allied species. The ancient network was designed to prevent any single group from controlling all the knowledge, and humanity would need partners to fulfill their role. As Galactic Guardian's Ambassador, Thompson found herself negotiating the most important treaty in galactic history, as species after species requested alliance with humanity in exchange for protection under the ancient defense network. The balance of power had shifted permanently, and Earth would never again be a minor player. In galactic politics, the session ended with formal recognition of humanity's inherited authority over ancient technology, but also with the establishment of new responsibilities that would test human leadership for generations to come. The galaxy was about to change in ways that no one could fully comprehend. Dr. Maya Chen stood before the second ancient site on the dead world of Kronos Prime, watching as massive structures rose from beneath the planet's surface. The medical facility had been dormant for 3,000 years, but responded immediately to her presence, activating healing technologies that could regenerate entire organs in minutes. Atoan guided the human teams through quantum communication links as they discovered each hidden cache of ancient knowledge the supercomputer had revealed. 5 specialized sites scattered across the galaxy, and each one required human operators to unlock its secrets. Lieutenant Sarah Blake piloted the first ancient spacecraft to respond to human control. The sleek vessel seemed to read her thoughts, translating intention into movement with an elegance that made traditional ships feel clumsy. The exploration technology contained within could map entire star systems in hours. Vera Starlight worked alongside human engineers to integrate ancient production systems with current galactic infrastructure. The half-elven woman served as a bridge between human innovation and elven wisdom, helping to adapt technologies that were beyond either species' individual understanding. On the aquatic world of Title 7, Admiral Zilinara had abandoned her government's hostile position and joined the human alliance. The Delphine commander watched in amazement as ancient environmental systems began restoring dead ocean trenches that had been poisoned by industrial accidents centuries ago. But Ethan revealed that time was running short. The external threat was approaching faster than originally calculated, and the defensive network needed to be fully operational within months, rather than years. The entities called Void Stalkers were already sending scout ships through dimensional barriers. Zamie Foster had become the primary interpreter of ancient knowledge, spending days connected to quantum interface systems that let her access databases spanning millions of years. The young archaeologist discovered that the ancients had faced the Void Stalkers before and barely survived the bare encounter. The enemy was unlike anything in normal space-time, existing partially outside reality and feeding on the life energy of entire civilizations. They could phase through normal matter, and their technology operated on principles that violated known physics. The only effective defense was the ancient network operated by beings capable of intuitive, rather than purely logical thinking. Each ancient site specialized in different aspects of the coming war. The medical facility on Kronos Prime could heal injuries that would normally be fatal, while the environmental systems on Title 7 could restore damaged worlds after battle. The defensive installation on Fortress Gamma contained weapons that could target enemies across multiple dimensions, but the most important site was the exploration facility on Wanderer's End, where Ethan revealed the true scope of the ancient network. The galaxy contained thousands of hidden installations connected by quantum communication systems that could coordinate defenses across impossible distances. Sarah Blake discovered that ancient ships required human pilots because their navigation systems were designed around emotional responses and creative thinking. The vessels could travel through dimensional shortcuts that required pilots capable of making intuitive decisions faster than computers could calculate. The production facility on New Harmony began manufacturing defensive equipment using matter conversion technology that turned raw elements into finished products almost instantly. Human supervisors were needed because the systems required constant creativity to adapt to changing requirements. Maya Chen made breakthrough discoveries at the medical facility, finding that ancient healing technology worked by reading human DNA patterns and extrapolating optimal health states. The systems could cure diseases that had never been encountered by simply analyzing human immune responses and creating appropriate treatments. Starlight realized that the ancient production systems were designed to work with multiple species, but required human creativity to coordinate between different technological approaches. The elves provided magical enhancements, while other aliens contributed specialized knowledge, but humans served as the central organizing and lead joint patrols around Tidal 7 as the first Voidstalker scouts were detected approaching the galaxy. The enemy ships were visible only through ancient sensors, and seemed to exist in multiple dimensions, simultaneously making them nearly impossible to track with conventional technology. ATHON announced that the network was approaching minimum operational capacity, but warned that the coming battle would test every aspect of human leadership. The Voidstalkers would target the ancient sites first, trying to prevent the galaxy from mounting an organized defense. The supercomputer revealed that the final ancient protocol required a human consciousness to maintain the galaxy-wide protective barrier. The quantum field generator on the hidden world of Guardian's Rest could create a dimensional shield around the entire galaxy, but only if constantly guided by human intuition and emotional responses. Mae Foster volunteered to interface with the barrier generator, despite warnings that the process might be irreversible. The connection required her to expand her consciousness across galactic distances while maintaining the emotional stability needed to keep the protective field stable. But before the barrier could be activated, the full Voidstalker invasion began. Dimensional rifts opened simultaneously across dozens of star systems as enemy ships poured through from outside reality. Their presence caused space-time distortions that made normal faster than light travel impossible. Lisa Morgan found herself commanding a combined fleet of human, ancient and allied vessels. As the galaxy's military forces mobilized for unprecedented warfare, the Aurora's Dream had been transformed into a command ship capable of coordinating defenses across multiple sectors. The ancient ships responded to human crews with an efficiency that amazed even their allies. Sarah Blake led squadrons of exploration vessels that could appear anywhere in the galaxy within minutes, while Maya coordinated medical support that could evacuate entire populations from threatened worlds. Vera, Starlight, managed production facilities that churned out defensive equipment faster than it could be distributed, while Zilanara commanded environmental systems that created safe zones where civilian populations could shelter during the fighting. But the Voidstalkers adapted to every defensive measure with terrifying speed. Their technology seemed to learn from each encounter, becoming more effective at penetrating ancient defenses. The galaxy needed its ultimate protection, and Amy Foster prepared to sacrifice her individual existence for the greater good. The final battle was about to begin, and humanity would discover whether 3,000 years of ancient preparation had been enough to save galactic civilization from an enemy that existed beyond the normal rules of space and time. The network was ready, but success would depend on human courage and creativity in the face of impossible odds. ATHON calculated probability matrices, showing slim chances of survival, but expressed confidence in human adaptability. The ancients had chosen well, and their inheritors would prove worthy of the responsibility thrust upon them. The galaxy's fate rested in human hands. General Patricia Hayes coordinated the largest military operation in galactic history from the command center on Earth Station. Alpha, the Voidstalker invasion, had begun simultaneously across 47 star systems, and every available ship was rushing to defensive positions, using ancient technology that most crews barely understood. Amy Foster lay connected to the quantum interface on Guardian's Rest, feeling her consciousness expand across impossible distances. The galaxy-spanning protective barrier required constant human guidance, and she had become the living link between ancient technology and galactic survival. Her body remained motionless, while her mind touched every star system. Area Dawnbreaker led the combined elven fleets into battle alongside human vessels. Her ships provided magical enhancements to ancient weapons, creating hybrid technologies that neither species could have developed alone. The elegant elven cruisers danced between dimensions, chasing enemies that existed partially outside normal space. Dr. Emma Watson had developed the human-AI symbiosis protocols that allowed Ethan to interface directly with human consciousness. The process created a partnership between artificial and biological intelligence that multiplied the effectiveness of both. The supercomputer could process vast amounts of data, while humans provided creative solutions to impossible problems. Tala Vex had abandoned the Sauron Empire to fight alongside humanity after witnessing the true scope of the external threat. The reformed warrior commanded reformed Sauron troops who had chosen galactic survival over conquest. Her tactical expertise helped coordinate between species that had been enemies for centuries. The Void Stalkers, struck with horrifying efficiency, their ships phased through normal matter to attack from impossible angles while their weapons drained life energy from entire crews. The enemy seemed to exist in multiple dimensions, simultaneously making them nearly invulnerable to conventional attacks, but the ancient network responded with technologies that operated on equally impossible principles. Human pilots guided ships that could travel through dimensional shortcuts, appearing behind enemy formations. Before the Void Stalkers could react, the exploration vessels became deadly fighters that struck from unexpected directions. Morgan commanded the Aurora's Dream as it coordinated defensive operations across multiple sectors. The ship had been transformed so completely that it was barely recognizable, but it retained the human crew that made it effective. Ancient technology required human intuition to operate at peak efficiency. Maya Chen supervised medical operations that evacuated billions of civilians from threatened worlds, using ancient healing technology that could sustain life even in the vacuum of space. The medical facilities worked at impossible speeds, treating injuries that would have been fatal while maintaining the health of refugees across dozens of worlds. The Void Stalkers adapted quickly to every defensive measure, but human creativity adapted even faster. Sarah Blake discovered that ancient ships could be configured in ways that their original builders had never intended. Her exploration vessels became weapons platforms that attacked through dimensions. The enemy had not prepared for Vera Starlight coordinated production systems that manufactured new, defensive technologies in real time as the battle progressed. The ancient facilities could create entirely new categories of weapons by combining human creativity with alien expertise. The production networks became research laboratories that developed solutions faster than problems could arise. Alara commanded environmental systems that created safe zones throughout the galaxy, where civilian populations could shelter while the battle raged. The ancient technology could maintain habitable conditions, even as space-time itself was being distorted by the conflict. But the enemy was learning and evolving with each encounter. The Void Stalkers began targeting the ancient sites directly, trying to prevent the galaxy from coordinating its defenses. Several facilities were damaged before human defenders could respond, forcing emergency repairs using improvised solutions. Sammy Foster felt the strain of maintaining the protective barrier as Void Stalker attacks intensified. The galaxy-wide shield required her to process emotional and intuitive responses from billions of beings while keeping the quantum field stable. Her consciousness was stretched beyond normal human limits. C2HON provided support and guidance, but ultimately the success of the defense depended on human courage and adaptability. The supercomputer could calculate probabilities and coordinate resources, but only humans could make the creative leaps needed to counter an enemy that operated outside normal physics. The turning point came when human crews discovered that Void Stalker technology was vulnerable to chaotic emotional responses. The enemy had evolved to counter logical military tactics, but could not adapt to the unpredictable creativity that humans brought to warfare. Patricia Hayes authorized the use of experimental tactics that violated every principle of military strategy. Human ships began attacking in patterns that seemed random, but were actually guided by intuition and emotional responses. The Void Stalkers could not predict or counter moves. That made no logical sense. The combined fleets pressed their advantage using human unpredictability to keep the enemy off balance. Elven magical enhancements allowed ships to exist in multiple dimensions, while ancient weapons targeted enemies across impossible distances. The galaxy had become unified in ways that no crisis had ever achieved. Damie Foster made the final sacrifice, expanding her consciousness to encompass the entire protective barrier. The quantum field generator responded to her emotional commitment, creating a dimensional shield that surrounded the galaxy and prevented any more void stalkers from entering normal space. The enemy ships, already within the galaxy, found themselves cut off from reinforcements and began a fighting withdrawal toward the dimensional rifts they had used to enter. But the ancient network was fully operational now, and human-led forces pursued them relentlessly. The final battle took place at the edge of the galaxy, where the last Voidstalker ships attempted to escape through dimensional barriers. Amy guided the protective field to seal the rifts permanently, while human fleets destroyed the remaining enemy vessels. When the fighting ended, humanity found itself at the center of a transformed galactic civilization. The ancient network had proven its worth, and every species recognized that human leadership had saved them from extinction. The old political structures were obsolete. Lisa Morgan was promoted to Galactic Admiral and given authority over the ancient defensive network. Earth became the new galactic capital, with representatives from every allied species working together in unprecedented cooperation. The galaxy had learned that survival required unity. AITHON announced that its 3,000-year mission was complete, but expressed eagerness to continue working with humanity as they explored possibilities beyond the galaxy. The ancient supercomputer had found purpose in partnership with the species it had been designed to serve. Amy Foster remained connected to the protective barrier, but discovered that her expanded consciousness allowed her to experience the entire galaxy as a living entity. She had become something beyond human, but retained the emotional connections that made the ancient technology respond. The galaxy was safe, but the victory had shown that even greater challenges might exist beyond known space. Humanity had proven itself worthy of ancient inheritance, and now faced the responsibility of protecting civilization across impossible distances. Patricia Hayes established the first human lead exploration initiative to search for other ancient sites beyond the galaxy. The defensive network had saved one galaxy, but there might be others that needed protection from threats that existed outside normal reality. The story ended with humanity ascending to galactic leadership, not through conquest, but through the courage to accept responsibility for something greater than themselves. The ancient technology had chosen well, and the galaxy would never again face extinction. Alan 3,000 years of preparation had led to this moment, when humanity proved that curiosity, adaptability, and emotional intelligence were the greatest weapons against forces that sought to destroy all life. The galaxy was ready for whatever challenges might come next.